with Potomac Beads. Join me in making this Austin Pendant, a nice play on a big, beautiful crystal piece featuring our QuadBows as well as our PieDuo beads. Remember, if you need any materials, check them out on our website and shop with us online at PotomacBeads.com. Gather up your crystals, your materials, and let's get started. So to begin our piece, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to attach our QuadBows and our PieDuos in a circular formation on our piece. To do so, I have some white wildfire beading thread and a size 12 English beading needle. I'm going through the PieDuo, and I have 4 of each sitting here, or through the QuadBow rather, from the exterior arch towards the interior of the piece. When I come through the interior of the piece, I'm coming through the first out of 4 holes. I'm going to skip over holes 2 and 3 and go right over to hole number 4. To do so, I want you to pick up 1, 2, 3 of your 15 O's in your Crystal Lab full color to match your beads, 1 of your Duracoat Galvanized Eggplant, and 3 more of your 15 O's. Go ahead back up to the 4th hole of that QuadBow, which is going to stretch right along the back of the piece. Coming at the top of the project now, what I want you to do is add 1 and 2 of your 11 O seed beads. We're going to sew up through our PieDuo from the pointed side towards the arch. Coming out on the arch then, we're going to introduce some of our crystals. And the crystals that we're using are 2mm metallic purple iris. They've got a nice shine to them, and they'll play off our Rivoli very well. On the exterior, I want you to do 1 and 2 15s, 1 of your 2mm round, and then 2 more 15s. You're now going to go down the second side of the PieDuo and let those seed beads kind of sit arched towards the top of the piece. We're going to repeat this same thing again now, and we're going to do this 4 times, which we're eventually then going to bring into our circle. 2 15 O's. We're going to sew down through the first hole of our next one of our QuadBow. When you come out hole number 1 of the QuadBow, go ahead and add your 1, 2, and 3 15s, followed by 1 11, followed by 1, 2, and 3 of your 15s. Skip over all the holes there of the QuadBow and go into hole number 4 and out towards the arch. Coming out again towards that arch, 2 more 15s. So up through our PieDuo from the point towards our arched top, 2 15s, 1 of our 2mm rounds, and 2 15s. I'm going to do this 2 more times, and then I'm going to show you how we are going to attach it together and round it out to get our nice bezel. So once you finish getting your 4 sets of your QuadBows kind of turned upside down and your PieDuos on, you're coming off after the last, or coming out rather after the last PieDuo. You have 2 of your 15 O seed beads on. And what we're going to do is go into the opposite side here, to that starter side, where the stop bead is. I'm going to take my thread and needle and go through that first hole. That's going to kind of round this out. It's going to sit a little funky and look a little awkward as you're holding it. What I want you to do in order to form your bezel is go through that first 3 15s and come out through your first 11 at the back of the project. What you're going to do now is add 2 of your 11 O seed beads, go over to the next QuadBow in line, and pick up just the 11 O seed bead. This is going to turn all those QuadBows towards the center and create our bezel area. 2 seed beads go on, go over to the next QuadBow, and sew through again just the 11 that sits at the bottom of the arch. That's 2. We're going to do this 2 more times. 2 of our 11 O seed beads on through the next 11 that's there. 2 again, and on to the next 11 and out. Once you're out there, you're going to give a nice tight pull then and tighten it up. And then you can see it makes it 3-dimensional. And what this 3-dimensional does, it creates a little netting on the back that our crystal is going to sit in the interior of. So what it's going to do now is have that nice little setting, and that nice little setting we're going to be able to hold tight and put our crystal in the interior. So now when you're looking at your 18mm Rivoli, and I'm using the Colorshift Sphinx, you're going to be able to sit that right on the interior, and it's going to look like it is bezel set. Once you're done adding in your 2 11-0s to create your nice netting, I want you to come through the next 3 15s with your needle. So coming out that 11, go through the 15s, and then come up through the side there of that quad bow. What we're going to do is we're going to go around the exterior of the quad bow. We decorated the interior to do the netting, and now we're going to decorate the exterior, going from hole number 1 to hole number 4. So to do so, I want you to have 2 15s, 1 11, one of your crystals, 1 11, 2 15s. Once you have that on your thread and needle, you're going to go down through hole number 4 of the same quad bow bead and out. You can see how that just decorates that nice outer edge. When you go from one hole to the other hole of the quad bow below, add 1 15 and sew over from hole number 4 of one quad bow out through hole number 1 of the next. Again, add your pattern, 2 15s, 1 11, 1 crystal, 1 11, followed by 2 15s. Again, go through hole number 4 then of that same quad bow, decorating now the exterior. Add 1 15-0 and continue on 2 more times till you get that same pattern the whole way around the piece. As you add in your last 15-0 here, you're going to add your last 15-0 after decorating that last side. Go through again that first hole of the quad bow and out towards the top. That gets a nice pattern there of kind of that nice almost ornate cross looking option that you can do if you want to. Just keep this as an open pendant. To start to create my nice netting that's going to go around my crystal, I want you to go up through the first 2 15-0s and out. We're going to bring seed beads in towards the center to create a nice V to capture in our crystal. To do so, 1, 2, and 3 of your 15-0s, 1, 2, 3 11s, 1, 2, 3 15-0s. You're going to skip over your 11 crystal 11 and sew into your next 2 15s. What you want to do when you sew into those next 2 15s is make sure that that goes towards the interior of the design. So it's going to kind of hang out towards the exterior, but you just want to make sure that it doesn't tuck behind the crystal. Keep it to the top. Because eventually what we're going to do is after we have all 4 of these little prongs made, we're going to bring them up to hold in our pendant along the side of the piece. So to continue around, you're going to follow the path that you just did, going through hole number 4 of the quad bow, going through the 15-0 that you added between them, up through the next quad bow, out through your first 2, and so on. After you come out through those first 2, again, add on 3 15s, 3 11, 3 15s, and repeat till you have kind of that turtle pendant piece the whole way around. As you finish up the last of your little flower or little turtle side there, you're going to be coming down through your quad bow, through that 15, out through the first one that you added in. And just like we did kind of to get our point there in our nice netting, I want you to bring your thread and needle up to the 11 O's and out through that second 11-0. So you're going up through the side here, up through all those 15 O's, and you're getting up to the top of the piece and out through the second 11-0 in that grouping. What that's going to do is then give us the option to catch on, just like we did on the interior, to all of those center 11-0s as we bend them in towards the center to put our Rivoli right in the middle. So we're going to be bending these in and creating those 4 prongs that sit along the center of the netting. So when you're coming out the first 11, you can see I've already done 3 of them, and I'm going to show you how to do the 4th side. You're going to do a pattern of 1 15-0, one of your 2mm crystals, 3 15-0s, 1 crystal, 1 15-0. What that's going to do is kind of push the crystals out towards the side. Add those onto your thread and needle, sew through the next of your little 3 11-0s, just the center one, that second one. Add it again through the center bead, add again through the center bead. Here I am on the last one, adding it in and sewing through that center 11 that my thread was just coming out of. Before I pull tight, I'm going to take my 18mm Rivoli, and this is in the Colorshift Sphinx, and I'm going to put it in and give a nice tight pull. And you can see how it's going to kind of play in colors with that pink and that red and bounce off those purple crystals. From here, I want you to sew through the first side that you added again, through the 15 crystal, 3 15s, crystal, 15, through that next 11-0 seed bead. That's going to give you an opportunity to kind of tighten it up so that Rivoli's not moving anywhere. From here, we're going to get to the exterior and connect on to our PieDuos. So I want you to go through the 11-0 that sits after, so the third, what would be the third 11-0 since you went through the second in that triangle of 11s. And you're going to come down through that 11 and then also through the 3 15s. Once you're through those 3 15s, give a nice tight pull on your thread. Sew through then the 11 and the crystal that sits kind of right underneath it. That's going to get us in position to catch on to the exterior of those PieDuos. When you're coming out of the crystal along the side here, I've already done 2. I'm going to show you what we're going to do. You're going to add to your thread and needle 5 of your 15-0 seed beads, 1 11-0, 1 crystal, 5 15-0s, and you're going to shift over to your next 2mm crystal that sits below that little X. So the same one that we're coming out of, just a little bit further over. Again, 5, and then 1 11, 1 crystal, 1 11, and 5 15s again. Once you have that on, you're continuing the whole way around, and here I am finishing up because I've already done 2 sides. You saw me on the 3rd, and here I am on the 4th, going through that same crystal that my thread was initially coming out of. It gives that fun illusion of a much bigger doubled bezel with, of course, a little bit more bling to the piece itself. From here, we're going to get to the outer edge, and to get to my outer edge, I'm going to take my thread and needle, go through the 11 that sits right after the crystal my thread is coming out of. From here, we're going to skip over to the 15s, the 2 right after. So this is the original area that we did that went right over the QuadBow. And now what we're going to do is we are going to catch on to this outer edge of our crystal here. And to do so, we're going to skip over. So we're going to skip over into the 2 that go right before that PieDuo. We're going to take our thread and needle up, and we're going to exit through that PieDuo. Right there. So our thread and needle goes around, making the illusion that our cabochon, or that our Rivoli, or you could use a cabochon honestly, is a lot bigger than it is. And then we just went down the sides after having kind of that 3-dimensional braiding and up through the PieDuo, coming out right before our seed beads. Once you're coming out of that PieDuo, I want you to sew through the 15, 15, crystal, and 15 and come on out. When you're out through that 15, add 2 more 15s, 1 11, 1 of your crystals, 1 more 11. And then where we're going to catch on is this little kind of netting that you just added right after that little triangle of purple beads. I want you to sew through the 2 15s, then the crystal, so that crystal's getting sewn through again. And then after the crystal, go ahead and sew through the 215s that are in that same line up. When you're coming out of it then, you're going to do the same thing. We're framing out the triangles. And you can see here, I did the same thing with the PieDuo down here. Coming out, again, you're going to grab a couple more of your crystals. Add an 11 crystal, 11, 215s. From here, go through the 15 crystal and the 15 that's set at the point of your PieDuos. Again, coming out after that that first 15 after your crystal, add 1, 2 15s, 11-0, crystal, 11-0. Sew over right below that little V of purple, go through the first 2 seed beads, then through the crystal round, through the 2 seed beads after the crystal round, those 2 15s there. Sometimes you can do it at once, sometimes you'll need to bring your needle and thread right out after the crystal. Grab onto those 2 15-0s that sit in that line of seed bead right there. And then coming out again, add 11, then your crystal, then your 11, and then your 2 15s. Again, sew in through the top there, through the first 15 before the crystal, through the crystal, and through the 15 after the crystal. So you can see you get that nice almost cross shape, really framing out those PieDuos. I have 1 and 2 more sides of seed beads to do to finish off connecting all of my 4 corners of my PieDuos for my pendant before coming up to the top to make my bail. So to finish up the side then, I have my 11 crystal, 11 215s. I'm coming out my last little side there, and I'm going to go through the 15 before the crystal to finish up that nice look. You can see how many crystals and how much this shines, which again, everything is kind of bigger in Texas, so it works well for this Austin pendant. Go ahead then and come out through the top of your 2mm crystal there, and we're going to get ready to create our bail. So to create our bail, I want to do a simple, basically square stitch bail. To do so, coming out of the top, I want you to add 1, 2, 3, and 4 15-0s, and then sew back through that same 2mm crystal. From the coming out the left, I went into the right, and that's going to bring those seed beads right out through the top. Go ahead and sew through the first 2 beads there. I want you to add 1, 2 more beads. Sew down through the next 2 beads that are already there. So we sewed up through the first 2, down through the next 2. Sew through the crystal 1 more time. Up through now, you look like you have 3 to one side, 3 to the other. We're going to sew up through those 3 on my left-hand side and out. And after I sew through those 3 on the left-hand side, I'm going to add 2 more. Sew down through the first 15 on the right-hand side. As I do so though, then I'm going to sew up through the 2 on the left. So I sewed down through 1 on the right, and I'm going to go up through 2 on the left. As I come out the 2 on the left then, I imagine this going on a big silver chain maybe, going in then, and you're continuing on till you have your bail as big as you need it to be. Adding 2 beads with your thread coming out on the left. Bring your thread then and your 2 beads down and go through the bead that sits on the right. That's going to now make 2 beads on the left that I'm going to sew up through. 1 and 2. After you get up through those 2 beads, it's easier for me to do at a different angle, not on the camera. Then you're going to add 2 more. So I'm going to do a couple more rows of this nice square stitch. And then as I do a couple more rows, we'll bring it out and fan it out towards the back till I have my nice loop for my bail. Once you have that square stitch bail as long as you want it to be, you're going to add 1 and 2 15-0s onto your needle. So I'm coming out the top of that little section there. I added 2 15-0s, and my thread's coming out on the right-hand side. I'm holding my pendant into the back, which if you look on the back, it's actually reversible. And I'm going to go through that same crystal that sits at the top of the pendant, going through from the side my thread is on the right side over towards the left. Pulling that pendant then, that bail towards the back, add 2 more 15s, and go up through the last bead on the left-hand side. When I pull down tight then, that'll pull that right into the middle. So back down through the bead that sits beside it on the right-hand side. And once I get back down through that bead on the right-hand side, my only thing that I need to do now, tighten up the thread, go back through the 2 beads that you added originally coming out of your bail section of that square stitch. Go through the crystal. Now from the crystal, I'm just going to work my thread back down along the side, through to the back of the design here. And once I come out of the back, I'm going to be able to take my thread and my needle towards my stop bead and simply tie it off. If you need to, you can also make that bail bigger. You can attach a jump ring, you can attach a wire guard there if you want to. And once you get this thread and needle back towards the back, you're just going to take those 2 off. Tie the 2 thread ends together and burn off the extra thread. Once you have that burned down towards the project, your Austin necklace pendant is complete. You can see it kind of gives that southwestern cross with all of that glam and all of that big Texas shine that you often think of when you think of things bigger and better in Texas. As always, thank you so much for joining me in making this fun Austin pendant. Remember, everything is bigger in Texas, so you can keep going if you want to add some layers. Remember that your pendant is reversible, that you can wear it to the front or the back of the design and have that nice bling on a nice choker, a longer necklace, and even if you want to, add a little tassel to the bottom. If you haven't had your opportunity yet to check out our QuadBows or our PieDuos, make sure to check the links below to check them out on our website. As always, if you haven't yet, click that little subscribe button so you don't miss anything like new beads launching from us here at Potomac Beads. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give a little thumbs up if you like the new shapes, as well as comment below. Say what colors, ideas, and things you're most excited to do with our new beads. As always, thanks so much for watching and enjoy your new Austin pendant.